Breaking news happening now. This is Wave 3 News.
A live look here from Air 3 outside University Hospital, where in just moments an ambulance carrying the body of LMPD officer Nick Rodman will be brought to the coroner's office. You see those long lines of fellow officers, family members, loved ones, people who care for this officer, and those who have just heard of him. This man who was a father, a police officer, and a husband.
And he was badly injured, of course, in that crash last night. Gunshots fired, responding to the scene with 3 other officers in pursuit. Nick Rodman colliding with the suspect's vehicle at 26th and Duncan, rushed to the hospital. Doctors did what they could, but could not save him. He's the 2nd officer since the 2003 merger to give his life in the line of duty. We thank you for joining us here on Wave 3 News at 6. I'm Scott Reynolds.
And I'm Shannon Cogan. Officer Rodman's father and brother are also LMPD officers, as Chief Conrad said that this was a job he was born to do. He said that the officer crashed into the car driven by a suspect in a domestic violence case, and shots were fired.
The chief says fellow officers rushed into the hospital in one of those squad cars, but they could not save witnesses to the crash. But first, Myra Ansari with the latest from police at University Hospital.
Well, Scott, Nick Rodman, as you mentioned, is now the 2nd LMPD officer to die in the line of duty. The mayor said that he was a man of compassion, that he died doing what he loved, which was serving the community. I want to step out of the way so you can see here the line, the very long line of people that are out here. They're waiting for Officer Rodman's body to be transported to the coroner's office. There are hundreds of people out here, police officers, loved ones, family members, just random people who have been walking by on the street that have joined in, along with other medical staff from the hospital who have been coming by as well. Now, Rodman was a husband to his wife Ashley and a father to 2 very young children, a son Mason and a newborn daughter Ellie Jean. He followed his father's footsteps. His father, George Rodman, is a longtime Metro police officer, along with his brother, Andy Rodman. His mother's name is Linda. Now, fellow officers have been pouring into University Hospital all day from different divisions surrounding agencies and have also been here. The Honor Guard has also stopped by. Now, you can see how deep this brotherhood is. Rodman was with the 1st Division, a division that is plagued with crime. He took pride in his job, always rushed to people's aid to be their guardian.
Nick died doing what he wanted to do. He died doing what he was born to do, serving this community. And we are beholden to him for the sacrifice that he made.
He was a man of compassion and commitment, a dedicated law enforcement professional, and a loving husband, a father, a friend, a co-worker, and a wonderful public servant.
Officer Rodman is a Holy Cross graduate, loved by the community there. The mayor said a ceremony will be held tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the Police Memorial at Jefferson Square Park. Metro flags will also be lowered at half-staff, and the Big 4 Bridge will be lit up in blue. The chief today saying that we lost a very, very good man. I'm Myra Ansari. Back to you.
The aftermath of the crash posted by several people on social media. Wave 3 News reporter William Joy went back to the scene today. And William, I know you spoke with people who actually witnessed that crash last night.
Scott, witnesses said it's the most violent crash they have ever seen. And a couple people told me they think it was preventable.
The next thing you know, I heard a bunch of sirens.
Video shows the frantic moments as Officer Nick Rodman is rushed away in an LMPD cruiser. Minutes later, the escort arrived at University Hospital.
And I'm running straight down there to see what happened.
James Newton was in his yard when the police car rushed by. The police car was headed down Duncan Street towards 26th when he tried to take a left quickly onto 26th. That's when he was hit on his front left side and was thrown all the way on the other side of Duncan Street.
And there was fire on the hood and all. It was bad.
Multiple witness videos show the driver of the other car on the ground.
Y'all need to get him to the hospital.
Police say he was the target of the chase.
And then the other guy was just laying on the ground.
Doug Gibson ran to the crash too.
I heard just the brakes lock up and then a boom.
Police say the other man in the crash has non-life-threatening injuries.
If that was me or something, I would want them to pick me up and throw me in a cop car, take me straight to the hospital.
Before they put that red light up, it was wrecks there all the time.
Stan Kraft lives right on the corner.
You're blocked off all four ways. You got to creep out.
Police say the chase started after the suspect fired a gun in a domestic argument.
Right up the street, man.
Neighbors say even with the serious charges, the chase is an unneeded risk.
I know they're out to, help people, but they're also out there hurting people too.
We now know that the suspect in this chase will be charged with Officer Rodman's murder, along with a series of other felonies. Reporting live from LMPD headquarters, William Joy, Wave 3 News.
And when it comes to police pursuits, LMPD Chief Steve Conrad actually changed the policy back in 2012 after reviewing 5 years of chases in the metro, showing 142 ending with crashes, hurting 76 people, killing 7. Pursuits now only justified in violent felony cases. Again, they are saying this was a case of a convicted felon with the gun. That's one of the charges, and shots had been fired, but the circumstances will be reviewed, and we'll wait for results on this case.
And during its meeting this afternoon, there's David James, who was just joining us here on Wave 3 News at 5. The Metro Council held a moment of silence for Officer Rodman. This was before the announcement was made of his death. That took place about 5 o'clock today. The mayor said the officer's family asked for privacy as well as prayers. And his father, George Rodman, was honored as LMPD Officer of the Year a year ago this month.
And it actually trained his son and another son. Our comprehensive team coverage continues online and on mobile. You can head to wave3.com or open the Wave 3 News app right now to find more video, our collection of stories in this case that we posted since it's developed, and it broke last night around 8 o'clock. And of course, we'll bring you the procession as it starts here momentarily from the hospital. The other big story tonight, a young man and woman dead, shot by police in Anchorage. It happened last night on Ridge Court.
And we first brought you this story as it broke last night on Wave 3 News at 7. We have team coverage of this too tonight. In a moment, Katie Bauer with a stolen car and a man killed connected to the couple.
First, Connie Leonard live in Anchorage. Those police officers, are they doing okay tonight, Connie?
Yeah, guys, it was traumatic for them. Of course, we're told they're shaken up, but they are going to be okay tonight. Residents feeling the same way after crime scene. Investigators spent most of the day back in this small, normally safe community. They're putting out blue ribbons on mailboxes to say thank you to the Anchorage police officers for getting to this scene as fast as they did last night. You'll remember a homeowner noticed a strange car parked in a lot behind their home. They called police. Officers got here. We know the young man and woman killed are 18-year-old Destiny Moneyhun, 25-year-old Bradley Sheets, and that they are connected to a death in Hardin County and some thefts in Barron County. More on that in just a moment. But neighbors want to know why they came here in the first place. And even though we're waiting for LMPD to give us more details about the shooting, we do know Anchorage police fired at least one shot.
I can't tell you whether the first shot was fired by one of the people who died at the scene or by an officer, but they certainly had a gun and they did use it. And what the sequencing was, that's going to have to be up to LMPD to determine.
Now, residents also took food and notes to the police department today in their support of these officers. And, of course, still a lot of folks shaken up out here. Live in Anchorage tonight, Connie Leonard, Wave 3 News.
And it is thought that the police-involved shooting there in Anchorage came actually after another death that happened in Hardin County. Wave 3 News reporter Katie Bauer has talked with deputies and also a neighbor. She's live in our newsroom. And Katie, you have some brand new information about these suspects.
Scott, we've just learned that the 2 people shot and killed in Anchorage were suspects in an incident in Barron County on Monday. We're told they stole a truck, credit card, and firearm from a roommate. That truck was recovered today in Hardin County. Investigators believe the 2 were then involved in the murder of a 74-year-old man found dead in his home Tuesday.
It was not the best thing in the world to see.
Around 7 o'clock Tuesday night, Hardin County Sheriff's deputies showed up to the house next door to Austin Nichols. Nichols has lived on Dawn Avenue all of his life, and for as best as he remembers, so did Lewis Hoskinson. Investigators were checking on Hoskinson after his car was found abandoned in Anchorage. That's when they discovered the 74-year-old dead inside.
He was killed with a very large hunting knife.
The knife belonged to the victim and was left behind. Chief Deputy David Lee says the house was ransacked. There was no forced entry, just a broken window where investigators busted in.
I mean, it's close to home. It literally happened less than 50 feet from, where I sleep at night. So it's a little bit rattling. It's not the best feeling in the world by any means.
Lee believes a couple stole Hoskinson's Nissan and drove to Anchorage, where the two, a man in his early 20s and an 18-year-old woman, were shot and killed.
We have additional evidence that matches up to some of the things that we've learned from LMPD and Anchorage PD. We don't really want to release that right now, but we're pretty confident these are our suspects in our homicide.
Now investigators are working to determine if the man and woman knew Hoskinson, and until more information is known, neighbors are left on edge.
It could have been this one, it could have been that one. It was, I don't know why they decided to pick that one, but it's tragic. It's horrible what happened.
And the Hardin County Sheriff's Office is just telling us now that the male suspect did know the victim. We will have much more on this developing story tonight at 11. Live in the newsroom, Katie Bauer, Wave 3 News.
And as we learned more about the victim and the investigation in this case today, we alerted users of the Wave 3 News app on those developments right away. You can learn things virtually as soon as we do by putting it on your phone or your tablet.
And once again, we want to take you back to University Hospital. Air 3 is over that location right now, and you can see all of the officers lining up to pay their respects to Officer Nick Rodman, who died today. The death announced just about 5 o'clock. An officer who has 2 young children, one just born in February. And actually, last week, I met Officer Rodman. He worked the overnight shift from about 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the First Division, and we were joking at the time about how he must be so exhausted having a young child and then a new baby at home and working the overnight shift. But he said that he loved it. It was a job that he loved to do. As
the chief said, he always wanted to be in the middle of it, the action, and that call came in that someone had fired shots, that there was maybe a domestic assault, and he went after that car and ended up colliding with it in that intersection in a high-speed chase involving 4 cars last night. They will take this procession momentarily from U of L Hospital down Interstate 71, the Watterson. They'll get to Westport and end up near Hurstbourne and LaGrange at the state coroner's office. We'll be back with more news in just a moment.
Back once again, a live look here outside University Hospital, where an ambulance will soon transport the body of Officer Nick Rodman, LMPD officer who worked overnight in the First Division, to the coroner's office. And just a few minutes ago, we received a statement from Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin, who says this is a terrible tragedy and a painful reminder of the selfless bravery of those who choose to protect and serve us. We are grateful. Let's bind together as Kentuckians and let the LMPD, as well as all other law enforcement communities, know they have our full support. We must protect those who protect us.
They will soon move his body with the procession to the state coroner's office over by Hurstbourne and LaGrange. So that will take them probably about 20 minutes. The mayor said these officers are underappreciated at times. Sometimes tragically, they pay the ultimate price as they work to keep us safe. Officer Rodman dying in that crash shortly before 8 o'clock last night at 26th and Duncan. And today the neurosurgeons finished their work and could not save his life. Let's go to Natalia Martinez right now in front of the hospital where all those officers have gathered. They were there by the hundreds last night as well, Natalia.
And they're certainly here by the hundreds. Again, Scott, let me just move out of the way so you guys can take a better look. They've been lining the way for when Officer Nick Rodman is brought down and loaded into the ambulance on the way to the coroner's office, the Jefferson County Coroner's Office off LaGrange Road. We heard the chief earlier talk about Officer Nick Rodman and how he is a father and a devoted officer who always wanted to jump in the middle of the action because he just loved this job so much. He comes from a family of officers. We learned that his father works in the training academy for LMPD. and that his brother is also an LMPD officer. We've seen people here from several different divisions and also just people stopping by just to pay their respects. It wasn't long ago that they said he was still undergoing surgery. Doctors here are still trying to save his life, but they said that the brain injuries that he sustained were just too much. We've been waiting here for a little over an hour for the procession to get going. The roads have been blocked off to make the way for the officer to travel to the coroner's office. The chief also said that this is the second line of duty death for LMPD. That is after the merger in 2003. Peter Grignon was honored here not too long ago. That was the first line of duty death for LMPD, and now this is the second. He did give some details as to what happened during the crash. He said it was a very violent crash. And then also we do have an update. The suspect that was involved in this, he does face a long list of charges, but then the mayor just put out a statement saying that he is also going to face a murder charge in relation to Nick's death. As soon as the procession gets going, we'll bring you those images live. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Natalia. We'll bring it to you as it starts to move there from University of Louisville Hospital, and we expect that to be very soon.
And right now, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett is joining us. A very sad day for our community, Kevin, but tell us about what we all need to know about, too, the weather.
Yeah, and tomorrow it's going to be rough. We are going to have the risk of severe weather tomorrow. We have that enhanced risk area, comes right up to Louisville, so we're going to start with that tonight. That enhanced risk area goes back out to our west. We get past tomorrow, storm chance fading into Friday. A dry weekend before another storm system moves in with some thunderstorms on Monday. Shannon, Scott, we'll toss it back to you.
All right, Kevin, thanks.
We'll be back with sports. All right. Thanks, Kent. And we are just getting ready, we believe, for the beginning of the procession of the officer's body from University of Louisville Hospital. Shannon.
Let's show you that scene once again from Air 3 where people have been adding to this line over the past few hours. And there we see the honor guard carrying out the body of Officer Nick Rodman, who died today after a horrific crash that occurred last night at about 8 o'clock. He was then rushed to University Hospital. Let's listen briefly here.
Hundreds of officers paying their respects right now in downtown Louisville at University of Louisville Hospital for Officer Nick Rodman. Last night there were hundreds there as he was in critical condition, but we were told by police officers and those connected to the department that it would take a miracle. Neurosurgeons could not save his life. He passes away this afternoon and now will be transported to the state coroner's office, and we are going to stay with this procession as they continue to guard him and honor him all the way until the funeral.
I'm Shannon Kogan in the newsroom. Please join us tonight for Wave 3 News at 6. So many people in our community are paying respect to an officer killed in the line of duty, and we're learning more now about the man charged with his murder and his criminal past. Also, a judge rules that then candidate Donald Trump incited a crowd at a rally in Louisville. The lawsuit against him getting momentum.
Expect more right now. You're watching Wave 3 News.
Friends, family, supporters, and fellow officers gathered to say goodbye to Officer Nick Rodman, killed in a crash with a man police say was fleeing. As loved ones remember an officer killed in the line of duty, the suspect, held on a $1 million bond, made his first court appearance on a stretcher. Thanks for joining us for Wave 3 News at 6. I'm Shannon Kogan. Scott Reynolds is off. We'll have more on today's memorial service in a moment. Andrina Sentler is live with that. First, what we've learned about James Woods, also known as Nathaniel Woods. Wave 3 News reporter Connie Leonard has more on his meeting with the judge, and he is charged with, among other things, murder.
That's right, Shannon. Murder of a police officer. It's at the top of a long list of charges that include assault and fleeing police.
94 and 95 James Woods.
Wheeled into court on a stretcher, 37-year-old James Woods, a.k.a. Nathaniel Woods, was alert when he faced a judge as his charges were read.
Murder, police officer, assault, second-degree domestic violence.
That's how Woods ended up here.
She had just been assaulted by the father of her child.
According to the police report, after punching the mother of his child in the face several times, Woods pulled a handgun and struck her with it as bystanders to stop the assault. He then fired multiple rounds before taking off the vehicle. When officers tried on 26th Street, police say he ran a red light, crashing into Officer Nick Rodman's car, causing injuries that led to his death.
I don't even know his name.
Woods was carried off and hospitalized. He has a long criminal history, mostly with drug possession and traffic convictions dating back to 2004. He also pled guilty to escape in 2011, driving under the influence in 2013, and was charged with engaging in an organized crime syndicate in 2015.
Mr. Woods, we're going to set your bond at $1 million. Full cash.
The arrest report says a search of Woods' car found the loaded handgun, packaged cocaine, scales, and baggies. After a blood test, Woods tested positive for alcohol, cocaine, and opiates. Woods' family members were at his arraignment.
We was just trying to see if he can make a phone call. We haven't talked to him since it happened. We don't know anything that's going on.
His lawyer's going to come out and talk to you all.
Now, Woods' family and his public defender didn't want to talk on camera. Woods had a list of pending charges and was a fugitive. There's going to be some questions about why he wasn't in custody. We'll have more on that part of the story coming up tonight at 11 o'clock. Live at Metro Corrections, Connie Leonard, Wave 3 News.
And Officer Rodman's visitation will be ending soon. Arch El Hedi at Rest Haven has been open today to anyone who would like to pay respects. And tomorrow there will be a service at Southeast Christian Church, followed by a procession to Cave Hill Cemetery, where he will be laid to rest. Wave 3 News reporter Andrina Sentler joining us live tonight near the visitation that's going on Bardstown Road. And tell us what it's been like out there today.
Shannon, as you can imagine, very emotional day for all those coming out here to say goodbye to Officer Nick Rodman. Lots of people coming in and out of the funeral home, but things have been running smoothly with the officers running traffic. Not only is there emotional support out here, but also support from community members lending parking for those coming to the visitation at 9th and O Baptist Church, about a mile away from the funeral home. A shuttle brought people to and from the visitation. College Chapel, a church across the street from Hedi Funeral Home, offered their parking lot for all the officers. In the parking lot were cruisers from all over the state: Bowling Green, Lexington, and Versailles, even Indiana State Police. I even talked to one of Nick Rodman's former teachers at Holy Cross. She's been sad all week, as you can imagine, and says seeing the kind of community support has reminded her of all the positive memories she has with her former student.
When he would come into the room, knowing his dad was an officer, it might have been scary, but he was proud. You could tell that he was proud of his father and knew what he wanted to do as he got older, that he wanted to be a police officer too and serve the community as well.
Now tonight, the visitation ends at 7. Tomorrow at 11, Rodman's memorial will start at Southeast Christian at Blake and Baker. Reporting live on Bardstown Road, I'm Andrina Sentler, Wave 3 News.
Wave 3 News will carry tomorrow's memorial live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It will also stream live on wave3.com and the Wave 3 News app, where right now you can read more of our in-depth coverage on the death of Officer Rodman. And breaking right now, an EMS Sprinter car involved in an injury crash. This happened about 45 minutes ago at 12th and Broadway. And this is what it looked like from Air 3. We're told the EMS vehicle and a passenger car were involved. It's not yet clear if the emergency vehicle was on a run at the time. That driver was not hurt, but at least one person was being taken to the hospital from the other vehicle. But it's thought that those injuries are not life-threatening. In our first week of April, kids are on spring break, and here we are talking about spring storms. So for all those kids who are stuck here, it's not really a great time to get outside and play this.
Oh, that's true. But if it brings any consolation, they're seeing even more stormy weather in the deep south, across the panhandle of Texas, through the Carolinas.
Expect more right now. You're watching Wave 3 News.
Nick performed these acts of kindness and never told anyone. Of course, looking back, it doesn't surprise any of us. It was just Nick being Nick.
Pushing the car of a stranded man off of the road, paying for his gas, buying groceries for a victim of domestic violence in the middle of winter, and listening to the problems of a man he arrested, a man who says he's turned his life around, stayed out of trouble since, thanks to Officer Nick Rodman. Today, teardrops along Louisville's thin blue line, a goodbye to an officer born into service, taken in the line of duty. Thank you for joining us here at 6. I'm Scott Reynolds.
And I'm Shannon Cogan. Ordinary citizens mourned today alongside those who wear the badge, and to hear stories of why Nick Rodman grew up wanting to wear that badge too. Killed in a crash, stopping a fleeing suspect, and remembered as a hero. We brought you the service live all day, and we continue now with team coverage from the full house at Southeast Christian Church to those gathered along the procession route and for the graveside service at Cave Hill Cemetery. But first, Wave 3 News reporter William Joy on how strangers along the hearse's path paid tribute to Officer Rodman's sacrifice. William?
The Eternal Flame here in Jefferson Square Park honors fallen officers like Nick Rodman. Just this past weekend, hundreds of people came out here to pay their respects, and today hundreds more lined his procession route, including many who had never met him.
Josh, come here, I need your finger.
In the hours before the procession, Robin Higdon lined Cherokee Road with blue ribbons to show respect.
My husband's a retired police officer, and he actually worked with Officer Rodman's father.
The ribbons are a duty.
It's every family's worst fear when you're a law enforcement family. You know, you pray every day that they come home every night safely.
But you didn't have to know Officer Rodman to understand who he was.
It just tugs at my heartstrings. Anyone who serves their community and dies in the line of duty, they deserve this.
Even on spring break, there was a lesson to be learned.
They're not just people who are out here working, they have families.
That's why Donna Brown brought her family and signs.
We didn't know him, but we appreciate him, what he did for our community.
From Southeast Christian to Cave Hill, cars lined the interstate and spread out on overpasses.
It's a big deal for the community, a big loss.
Car after car drove by a wave of supporters.
They're doing something for the community, and they die in the process. That's just tough.
It was a small thank you.
We were just devastated. I can't imagine what they're going through.
Officer Rodman did his duty, so they were just doing theirs. While there were easily more than 100 LMPD cars and officers as part of that procession, I also saw units from all over the state, all reaches of the country even, all coming here to Louisville to escort Rodman to his final resting place. Reporting live in downtown Louisville, William Joy, Wave 3 News.
City and police leaders honored Officer Rodman's life during this morning's service. Wave 3 News reporter Katie Bauer was there at Southeast Christian Church. She's live there right now, and so many special memories were talked about, Katie.
That's true, Scott. And today was not only about thanking a fallen officer for the ultimate sacrifice, it was also a chance to remember and recognize the life that Officer Nick Rodman lived. Mayor Greg Fisher talked about his compassionate service, that he would keep teddy bears in his patrol car so he could pass them out to children he came in contact with on the tough jobs. We heard from Police Chief Steve Conrad, who acknowledged the service of the Rodman family, Nick's father George and brother Andy, also LMPD police officers. Since his passing, LMPD has heard from numerous people Nick helped in his short career, getting an elderly man gas and pushing his car to safety after he broke down on Main Street, buying a 7-month pregnant woman food and making sure she got to shelter after she was walking the streets after a domestic dispute. These are just some of the stories that no one knew about until last week. A leader of Nick's 1st Division platoon shared how evident it was that family was his focus. He loved being a father to wife Ashley and husband to wife Ashley and father to 2-year-old Mason and 1-month-old Ellie. He just returned to work after some time off for paternity leave.
Being a dad was what he was best at. And considering who his parents are, that doesn't surprise me at all. Just like Nick the friend, Nick the police officer, and Nick the big brother, he was also the husband and daddy that his mom and dad taught and expected him to be.
Members of his 1st Division platoon were acknowledged on stage. He leaves behind his parents, younger brother and sister, wife, and 2 children. He was 30 years old. Live from Southeast Christian Church, Katie Bauer, Wave 3 News.
After this service at Southeast Christian, fellow officers and family rode in a procession to Cave Hill Cemetery. Wave 3 News reporter Connie Leonard was there as Officer Rodman was laid to rest with full honors. Connie.
Shannon, I can tell you it was such a moving graveside service. Every funeral is difficult, but when an officer is laid to rest and his young family is looking on, it is such a loss for us all. No one is guaranteed tomorrow, but every day a police officer agrees to put his or her life on the line for their community. Officer Nick Rodman say his family and friends was always all in, dedicating himself to wear the uniform, while a Southern Indiana stranger volunteered his horse and caisson to LMPD to help say farewell to a hero.
Because he puts his life on the line every day. When I was asked if I would do this, they asked me what I wanted to do it, and I told them nothing. Because everybody that's in a position of what this officer was in deserves the right to go out in class.
His 1st Division officers, one by one, placing flowers on his casket as a son, husband, father, friend, and foremost officer leaves this earth just as he served the city of Louisville with respect and dignity.
This is the final call for 123 Baker, Officer Nick Rodman. Officer Rodman served the Louisville Metro Police Department and the citizens of Louisville Metro with honor, integrity, and distinction. 123 Baker, Officer Nick Rodman, is 10-7 for the remainder. He has gone home. May he rest in peace.
And one of the toughest parts of that ceremony was seeing LMPD families holding tight to their children. We thank the Rodman family for allowing us in to bring the service to this community. Live from Cave Hill Cemetery, Connie Leonard, Wave 3 News.
We stream today's service live throughout the day on wave3.com and the Wave 3 News app. You can head there now for more pictures and video where our coverage of Officer Rodman's life and untimely death continues in depth.